Steve, obviously you've had the international break over the last 2 weeks. Did that come at a bad time, given the role that you were
Possibly, but you know, it's in there, and you just have to accept it. And of course, when the international comes along, you know, we had 6 or 7 all playing. Thankfully, all of them are back, apart from obviously one, which is Hernandez, who's scored for Uruguay and played twice for Uruguay. But he's still not back yet, and this is Friday morning. He got back into Humberside last night at 6 o'clock, so the obvious one is we'll have to see how he is, and have a conversation with him this morning and see how he is. But he's been halfway around the world, so we'll see how he is today. How
difficult does that make things for you? Presumably very frustrating.
Difficult because, I mean, one of the games we're playing in Bolivia, you know, which is playing at altitude, and they've had a wonderful result. The next one they've beat Colombia 3-0. He's on the goals sheet, so he's obviously on a bit of a roll at the minute. He's got 5 and 7 for us, and starting to perform at the levels what we expected to be. But of course, anybody who knows, when you've been halfway around the world trying to come back, not just playing football, but just to get over the jet lag, we'll see how he is. And we'll see how he is, obviously, today and tomorrow morning.
Everybody else come back healthy?
Everybody's okay. Everybody come back healthy, yeah.
What about Sheffield Wednesday then? Because they too have been on a roll going into the international break, and certainly under new management are playing quite well.
Yeah, they're playing very well, and they're a handful. They're a big centre forward, and it's 6'7" in the Boy Forest area off them. They'll cause any team a few problems, I would have thought, and they've gone on a roll themselves. You're right, under new management, and we expect, like it always is in the Championship, it's going to be another tough game. We expect nothing else, but you know, if we perform to the levels what we're capable of, then we know then we've got enough firepower to go and make sure we get the job done.
When you look at Sheffield Wednesday, and this is meant to no disrespect to them at all, because they've got the results, but with a big 6'7" guy up front, a target man, is it a bit of a throwback to the way the game used to be played?
Well, we played one against Charlton, did it last? Charlton had one, you know, against us, and he caused us a few problems, and we ended up losing the game. And a throwback, well, you know, you can, you know, a Niall Quinn, if you like, or you know, they're very difficult to play against. Peter Crouch has done it for years, hasn't he? And when you look at the record he's got playing for England and what he's achieved, then of course they add something to a team if they're effective. Down the hill at Sheffield Wednesday, the corner's coming in, you know what to expect. So we're going to have to defend well. We're going to have to, you know, make sure that we understand what's coming, and make no mistake, the players will be aware of obviously the threat he causes.
And as a defender yourself, when you see yourself lining up against someone like that, you know it's going to be a physical day, don't you?
Physical day, which you have to enjoy. I mean, the reason why you play centre-back usually is a physical confrontation you enjoy. And I'm sure the 2 centre-backs I've got at the moment, in Dawson and Davis, are playing at the top of their game at the minute. And they'll be ready for a physical encounter. So even though he's 6'7", I've got 2 at 6'4", so it should be worth watching.
And when you look at the 2 teams respectively, you've both scored plenty of goals this season. It's fair to say that it's going to be a game where you have to take your chances.
Well, usually, I mean, if we're being critical, that's the one area where we need to improve on. We've created a few chances and not took enough of them. You know, we need somebody else to step up alongside Abel to score the goals that obviously you need if you're going to be successful in this league. And I think that's at any level, really. You know, in the Premier League in particular, you don't get as many chances as what you do in the Championship. You've still got to take them when they come along. So let's hope that we can take our chances. We're playing well at the minute. And that negativity, what surrounded the club for 2, 3, 4 months in the summer, seems to be eroding, which is good. I think the supporters enjoyed seeing us play at Forest. We're taking thousands again to Sheffield tomorrow morning, so always a nice place to play, good atmosphere, live on the telly, bring it on.
Just finally, away from Hull City in the last 2 weeks, 2 managerial changes in the Premier League. Jurgen Klopp, Sam Allardyce are now back in the Premier League in Sam's case. But to what extent is there a chance for British managers to progress when you see some?
Well, I think that's always the disappointing thing of all of us, of all British managers really. I'm I'm saddened. Listen, I think Jurgen Klopp's come in and been, you know, we all expected. You know, he hasn't disappointed in that respect, and he's proven at Dortmund that he's a top class manager. But unfortunately, we've lost another British manager in Brendan, and you know, it's only 18 months ago that he was so far from winning the Premiership, and hailed as the best young coach around, and then all of a sudden it's disappeared from him. And I'm sure, knowing Brendan, that he'll be back and raring to go. But I think it is disappointing for all of us British ones that, you know, more than 50% of the Premiership is foreign managers, and no disrespect to any of them, but we've got to encourage. We've got to keep encouraging the young English one or the young British one to come through. You know, there's people like Eddie Howe at Bournemouth and Alex Neil at Norwich who are flying the flag. And I hope that continues, because people have to work. I mean, I was just talking to Stephen Clements, my first team coach here, and he's just doing his pro licence. He's been studying now for the best part of 7-8 years. You know, it's a long slog to get there, and when you look at the statistics and managers in their first jobs, they're lasting a year, and over 70% of them don't get back in. So it's a awful industry in that respect. And of course, you know, the Premiership is now so global that we have a lot of foreign managers in, but we must be careful, because if we're not, we're going to not encourage any British coaches to come through, or British managers, and where's the next Alex Ferguson or the next Brian Clough? Or we've got to try and encourage these people, and these young players in particular who are going to go into management. You know, your likes of your Rio Ferdinands and your John Terrys and your Jamie Carragher's and your Gary Neville's, they've all got to be encouraged that there is a way through, that they can manage at a top level.
Thank you.
No problem.
Steve, you talked a bit about banishing that negative attitude and the mindset. What is the current mindset of the players at the moment? Are they taking it by game basis? Or?
There's no doubt that it was. I've gone on record. It was the most difficult 3-4 months certainly I've had in 17 years I've been doing it, because we weren't in control of till the window closed really, which was the end of August. So from May, June, July and August, it's been very, very difficult to see who's going to be here. And the one thing you have to try and then do is put a squad together which is capable of mounting a challenge. And I think when I look at the squad we've got, then we've got as good a chance as any. We need a bounce of the ball and a bit of luck, and we have to lift the doom and gloom. And the doom and gloom just doesn't go with myself or the players. It goes for the groundsman, the media staff, the ticket office. The whole club suffers because you're not in the big league. And the one thing you have to do is dust yourself down very, very quickly if you can, and get a hold of the challenge what's ahead, because this championship is unforgiving. We've got another 7 games in two weeks or whatever it is. So we had to lift the doom and gloom, and slowly but surely it's starting to lift, and I don't think we're out of it yet, but the signs are that I think the supporters are identifying with the team that we've got, and we've got to win their trust back too. You know, the team has got to win back the supporters' trust, and of course it stems from the very, very top to right to the bottom of the club that everybody's disappointed. And well, it's like everything in life, when you're disappointed, something happens, you've got to dust yourself down and get on with it again.
What's been the most impressive thing you've found about the squad so far?
Well, we've only lost twice in something like 14 games, something like that. Them 2 games we really didn't perform to the levels which we knew about. So I think the resilience of what's needed is starting to come back through. Now, I hope I'm not talking too early, because we'll need all of it tomorrow at Sheffield Wednesday. But I'm quietly confident that the resilience of what made us a good team is slowly coming back. We've got a few players coming back from injury. Obviously the addition of Livermore and the addition of Diarmi has lifted the squad. Hopefully in the next 2 weeks we've got Diamande and of course Snodgrass, which when you look on paper anyway, that we've got a fairly healthy squad and a good squad of players to mount the challenge. Thank you.
Can I just ask, you played Forest last time out, Wednesday tomorrow, you've got Ipswich on Tuesday, I believe. Are we starting to see the top 6 in the Championship really take shape now with Hull at the
I don't know if you look at the top 10. Really, it's 3, 4, 5 points between us all, and I think that's the beauty of the Championship. You can never really tell. Bournemouth last year, after 10 games, had 12 points, I think. You know, and then all of a sudden they've went on to get 100. You know, so I don't think you can really tell just yet. I think after this next trench of games, the next 7, 8 games, until the next international break, I think then we can start looking at the top end and thinking who's going to be there or thereabouts. There's 1 or 2 who are expected to be there or thereabouts. No disrespect to Chris and Brighton, I didn't expect that, but they've had a great start. And of course Middlesbrough, for me, are the team to beat. At the moment, they're the ones that you look at and think, well, if we finish above them, then we'll not be far short.